Yow. We are back for round three. This is Yohaan versus Fernando. Yohaan on blue black Death Shadow, and Fernando on his Bant Infect once again. Fernando committing cardinal sin, covering the banana. Okay, so Fernando is mulliganing down to 6. So on Yohan's side, we do see Underground Sea, a Street Wraith. It was kind of hard to see the other cards in his hand. Fernando keeping his 6, so he bottomed Wasteland. So we can see that he has Crop Rotation, finds a Vastwood in his hand. Unsure about the other cards in his hand. He passes a turn. Yohaan draws Brazen Borrower, so we know he has a Watery Grave and an Underground Sea. Pays 2 life to cycle Street Wraith. Fernando has no response. So Yohaan shocking in a Watery Grave, going down to 16 life, casting Brainstorm during the main phase. Fernando fetching in response. So I can't tell if Yohaan has a fetch land in his hand, but I'm not a huge fan of turn 1 Brainstorms during the main phase. Typically, you want to be casting your Brainstorms to find a land. Sorry, I say that you should most likely only be casting Brainstorms during your main phase to find a land. Otherwise, its strength really comes from being an instant. It's very hard to say whether it's correct or whether it's a misplay or not, because Brainstorm is just such a versatile card that it's just a really high skill ceiling. But you definitely don't want to be Brainstorm walking yourself. So I think that might be potentially what's happening here. So he's passed the turn. Fernando draws a Wooded Foothills off the top. Plays Inkmoth Nexus for the turn. Casting Noble Hierarch. So mana ramp and a miniature pump spell. So there is a Flooded Strand off the top for Yohaan. It looks like he had Death Shadow and Snuff Out in hand as well. I'm wondering, I'm very curious whether he had the Ponder and the Brainstorm at the same time, and why he chose to play the Brainstorm over the Ponder. It also looks like he has a Hymn to Torok in his hand as well. Okay, so it seems like he didn't like the second card that was on the top of his library if he's gonna fetch here. Okay, so there's a Thoughtseize from him. So there's a Crop Rotation and Vines of Vastwood. So if Yohaan is able to deal with this Inkmoth Nexus, he'll be in a very good position because Fernando is very threat light. So Yohaan not liking the card that he put, the first card that he put on the top of his library with the Brainstorm. He's now fetch shocking for Watergrave, and it looks like he's going to try and deploy a Death Shadow pretty early here, just to keep up with the Inkmoth Nexus. So we know that he does have a Snuff Out, so he is pretty well positioned here. If Fernando doesn't pick up another protection spell or a counter spell, Yohaan will be very, very advantaged here. And even if Fernando has a way to deal with the Snuff Out, Yohaan has a backup Brazen Borrower. Oh, but it doesn't work on lands. Sorry, that's my mistake. So he's tapping 1. to crop rotation. I wonder what he's trying to fetch for. It might be a Pendelhaven. Yeah, so he's trying to do some beats. So he's gonna try and get in for 3 Infect here. We'll let Fernando use up his mana. So this Snuff Out should be coming out. Yeah, he can afford to play it aggressively here because he knows what's in Fernando's hand, essentially, and it now grows his Death Shadow, so his Death Shadow should be a 7/7. Draws a Ponder off the top. A lot of card selection. So I think that's a minor misplay. I think if you were planning on playing the Ponder, no matter what, I would have cast it before playing a land because you also can brainstorm and try to find a fetch land as well. Or you can ponder and then shuffle off. Or you can brainstorm and then ponder to shuffle off the library. So I don't know. Minor misplays. Brainstorm is an extremely hard card to play with. It's definitely not beginner friendly. Although it may look simple, there is a lot of nuances to it. Okay, so there's another Inkmoth Nexus off the top. It looked like he passed the turn to Yohaan. He might be thinking about flashing in the adventure side of the Brazen Borer just to take the Noble Hierarch off the field, which he does. And now he can threaten a little bit of a faster clock if he holds up his mana. It looks like there's another main phase Brainstorm, but he knew 2 cards on the top from the Ponder already. Looks like he's pitching 2 Baleful Strix. So now we can shuffle with the Ponder. Oh, so he's flashing in Dress Down before damage. And it looks like that's game. So here we are in game 2. Fernando going first. Cracked a Windswept Heath for Tropical Island, trying to, and he cast Glistener Elf. Not sure why the Snuff Out on the battlefield. I think he tried to cast it for free, but realized he needed Swamp. Draws a Polluted Delta off the top. So there's an Underground Sea. Cast Thoughtseize. Fernando tries to daze the Thoughtseize. And now the Snuff Out comes out. Fernando Force of Wills the Snuff Out, paying 1 life, exiling another Force of Will. Plays the Tropical Island that he picked up. Tries to play a Noble Hierarch. And now is attacking for 2 because of the Exile trigger. The Exalted trigger, sorry. And now he's passing the turn. Yohaan draws a Brainstorm off the top. So he's got a Dress Down, Engineered Explosives, Ponder, Brainstorm, and it looks like 2 lands. So if he can get to 3 mana here, he'll be in a pretty good position with this Engineered Explosives. So he goes Ponder first. He should not be adding them into his hand. So I think he thinks he's casting Brainstorm. This is not right. Is he slowly realizing it? Okay, so that was clearly a mistake. There should be. I don't know how this would be undone. I guess the easiest way, but not an official way, would be to just swap the Ponder and the Brainstorm. But that was very, like, blatant. So he plays Polluted Delta for the turn. So I think he's aiming to try and get this Engineered Explosives down. But I'm not entirely sure why he used the Fatal Push if Engineered Explosives was the plan. So is he going to use this as a Brainstorm or is he going to use this as a Ponder? So this is used as a Brainstorm, so this is a game's rule violation. He puts the two cards back on top. Cracks the fetch. Finds Watery Grave and probably going to shock it. Yeah, if there's any judges out there, let me know what would happen in this situation. Like, obviously, we're not comp RAL, and he didn't own up to it, so he pays one for the days. So Fernando draws for turn, plays the Tropical Island he's been sitting with for the past few turns, looking to ponder, reveals Chop, Blighted Agent, Glistener Elf. So Blighted Agent not looking like what he wants to be doing here. He might actually shuffle. Looks like he's not going to shuffle. I don't think this is the hand that you want to be like keeping. Yohaan has shown that he doesn't have, or he's not committed to any removal spells to the Blighted Agent. So you don't need to keep two threats on the top of your library. I think if you can try to dig for a Becomaments, you can even sneak a Noble Hierarch kill with how brazen Yohaan is with his life points now. So he's gonna draw Force of Will off the top. So I think he's gonna do Engineered Explosives on 2 and try to pop off or pop this Blighted Agent. So Yohaan currently swinging for 2. Fetching down to 10 makes it 3. And shocking makes it 5. So Fernando stacked the Blighted Agent on top with the Ponder to draw it, just in case so he can Force of Will. So there's an Engineered Explosives. Fernando most likely gonna fight over this. Actually, he could choose not to. Because if Yohaan chose to blow up the Blighted Agent, Fernando does have Glistener off on the top, and then another land into Blighted Agent again. But again, that's very slow. Now Yohan's handless, draws a card, and is now just starting to beat in with the Death Shadow. So attacking for 6. Draws a Glistener Elf and passes. Yohaan with the Wasteland, popping a Tropical Island and swinging in for 6. I think you block with the Noble Hierarch here because you can still hope to draw like a Become Immense off the top. I think that is his only out because even a kicked Vinezor, he can't kick. Like not even a Vines of Vastwood would help, and I don't think there's many other pump spells. Invigorate would only put him to 9 poison, so it needs to be the Become Immense. Okay, and that's the game. So kind of a sketchy match. Not sure what would have happened if we like if a judge was called.